Right friends, welcome back to Insight. This is 9th week from 29th February to 6th March, and let us look at the first and the foremost sentence, that is GDP in manufacturing has grown by 12.6% and index of industrial production could grow only by 0.9% during October-December 2015 quarter. There is no relation. GDP in manufacturing was stated as 12.6% during the quarter October to December, and index of industrial production has grown by only 0.9%. Why there is a lot of difference in these two indices? And normally or normal prudence suggests that IIP and GDP in manufacturing should correlate with each other, but here there is a wide divergence. And if you look at the GDP in manufacturing, the computation methodology, it is based on the annual accounts of companies filed with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and if you look at it, this include 5 lakh companies, bringing in more companies which may include unlisted companies also. Out of these 5 lakh companies, there may be several unlisted companies also, so it may not be truly realistic. And if you look at index of industrial production is based on actual survey of industries. If you look at it, it is actual survey of industries which comprises over 2 lakh factories. So the data compiled with the physical progress at 2 lakh companies or 2 lakh factories is index of industrial production, whereas GDP takes the data from this 5 lakh companies, whereas the GDP in manufacturing is based on annual accounts of companies filed with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, right? So this is the basic reason for divergence. So you can say IIP reflects the reality because it is the actual survey of factories, but GDP in manufacturing, which is calculated based on the information filed, is somewhat misleading. That's why our GDP in manufacturing is showing more than 12%. Right friends, look at the next issue. The next issue is one of the options suggested in economic survey. We have deliberated in detail about economic survey. One of the options suggested in economic survey is to make exports competitive through devaluation of rupee. And you may ask a pertinent question, what is devaluation? At present, the currency is around 68 rupees to $1. Here the exchange rate is around 68 rupees per $1. If government deliberately fixes it, let us assume if government deliberately fixes it at around 70 rupees a dollar or 80 rupees a dollar or 90 rupees a dollar or 100 rupees a dollar, that is a devaluation. So here if government deliberately fixes it at 100 rupees a dollar, that is a devaluation, and if government fixes it or raises the value of rupee, that is a revaluation. So this is the basic difference between revaluation and devaluation. Revaluation and devaluation primarily takes into account fixing of the rate by the government, whereas depreciation and appreciation is due to market forces, and in our country the currency is normally left to the market forces with the rare interference by Reserve Bank of India. That's why our currency is known as managed float. Our exchange rate system is known as managed float. Please don't forget. This I have taken only as an example purpose. And economic survey stated that there is a case for devaluation of rupee so as to promote exports. Why this was mentioned in economic survey? Because exports are falling for the past 14 months continuously. That's why economic survey stated there is a case for devaluation of rupee, and I have given here advantages and disadvantages of devaluation of rupee. Exports will be benefited, no doubt, with the devaluation of rupee. Exports will become competitive, and if you look at disadvantages, our debt payments, both the private and government, becomes more expensive because lot of companies have taken loans from abroad, which is external commercial borrowing, and at the same time government borrowed money from multilateral institutions like ADB, World Bank, and these will become costlier if the rupee is devalued. Second important point is it may lead to more current account deficit, because of the reason our imports will become costlier. And at the same time, as imports will become costlier, it may lead to inflation. And when government interferes, then what will happen? Foreigners will lose confidence in our economy and capital flight from our country may take place, right? So I have listed the reasons, advantage and disadvantages here with the devaluation of rupee, right? So this is about the consequences of a devaluation of rupee. Look at the next issue, the share of cess and surcharges as a percentage of tax revenues will go up to 9.1% of overall tax revenues. Nowadays, it became almost a practice for the government to go for more cesses as well as more surcharges. And I would like to tell you what is the difference between cess and surcharge, and at the same time what is the difference between cess and tax. Cess and surcharge almost come into the same category when you look at it from the perspective of sharing with the states. All of you are well aware, share of taxes to state governments from the divisible pool of taxes enhanced from 32% to 42%. And now in recent times government is more resorting to cess and surcharge, because prime reason is cess and surcharge are not to be shared with the state governments. Most important aspect is both these cess and surcharge are not to be shared with the state governments. Second important point is cess will go for particular cause. Cess will be separately maintained and it will be used for that particular purpose only, and here it will be rolled over to next year. So these are the traits of cess. If you look at the surcharge, it goes to Consolidated Fund of India. Once the money goes to Consolidated Fund of India, it is to be withdrawn only with the approval of Parliament. And here surcharge is imposed when income exceeds a certain limit, or sometimes it is tax on tax, and in surcharge government can spend for any purpose. That means surcharge once imposed can be spent for any purpose, and it goes to Consolidated Fund of India and it is not to be shared with the state governments. And I have given clear differentiation between cess and surcharge. And I would like to tell you the difference between cess and tax. What is the primary difference between cess and tax? Cess is basically levied by the central government for specific purpose, and it is outside Consolidated Fund of India, whereas tax goes to Consolidated Fund of India, and from Consolidated Fund of India only you can have expenditure with the approval of Parliament. And cess, as I have already told you, it is to be used for that particular purpose only, and cess will be entirely with the central government, not to be shared with the state governments. And at the same time, most important trait of cess is it will be carried over simply to the next year if unspent, right? And most important point is it should not be imposed as a regular measure and to be discontinued once the purpose is met. And taxes, they are as a normal and a regular measure, and most of the taxes are to be shared with the states, and every year budget will spell out with regard to taxes and expenditure, right? So taxes are permanent measure, cess is temporary measure. Cess will be outside Consolidated Fund of India, it will be for specified purpose. If it is not spent in the particular year, it will be carried forward. Whereas once the money goes into Consolidated Fund of India, Parliament's approval is required. So friends, these are the main differences between cess and tax. And let us look at the next issue. Clean environment cess of rupees 400 per ton is proposed in the budget. This clean energy cess, the previous name was clean energy cess. Now in this budget, its name is modified into Clean Environment Cess. Previously, it was Clean Energy Cess, and it was proposed for the first time in Union Budget 2010-11, and now the cess is increased to rupees 400 per ton of coal, lignite, including imported coal. And overall annual consumption of coal in our country is 800 million tons, and at the same time, please don't forget, this Clean Environment Cess is going to yield around 26,000 crores of rupees, and it is non-lapsable fund. I have already told you, cess will not go to Consolidated Fund of India, it will be maintained as separate fund, it will be non-lapsable fund under public accounts. Right. So, now the cess is rupees 400 per ton of coal, lignite, including imported coal. Second important point is, it is to be spent for particular purpose, in this case, so as to give impetus for clean energy projects. You may ask, what are clean energy projects? Please look into this picture. This is a clean energy project, that is wind, and if you look at solar power, and if you look at canal top solar power project, which became famous in Gujarat. So, these are all examples of clean energy projects, and this is a rooftop solar power project. So, the money generated has to be used for clean energy projects only. Right friends, look at the last issue of the week. Government intends to roll out National Dialysis Service Program as per Union Budget 2016-17. Basically, it is to tackle the problem of renal failure. Kidneys failure is a serious issue, and every year 2.2 lakh people in our country are detected with end stage renal failure. If kidneys fails, what will happen? The blood is to be purified at least 3 times in a week, and this is the process known as dialysis. So, government intends to roll out in all the district hospitals, and in private hospitals. Normally, each dialysis costs rupees 2,000, and 3 times in a week this dialysis is required, so as to reduce the cost and so as to ensure dialysis closer to the people. This central government, through its budget 2016-17, announced the rollout of National Dialysis Services Program in all the district hospitals of the country, and dialysis is basically to clean toxins in the blood. Right? And the real challenges here are quality of service, availability of nephrologists and technicians. So, these are the challenges, and it is a step in the right direction, and let us hope to roll out this program as early as possible. And if you look at it, these are kidneys, this is external structure, this is internal structure. Basically, here various toxins are removed from blood, and if these kidneys fail, what will happen? Then toxins will remain in blood. That's why these toxins are to be removed by the process known as dialysis. Right? So, this is the process of dialysis. Right friends, with this, let us conclude this week's insight. Have a nice day. Thank you.